Let's return now to our top story and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's future plans. Last night, they said they will be stepping back as senior royals and divide their time between the UK and North America. Well, joining me now is psychologist and media commentator Honey Langcaster-James. Honey, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon.
This came as a shock to everyone yesterday when it was announced. We might have said we've seen it coming. We saw them very unhappy in TV interviews. We saw them trademarking items online. So there was a move towards this, but it came out of the blue. What was your initial reaction when you heard the news?
Well, like many people, I was quite shocked. I felt quite sad, actually. I think something's been building for a while as we sort of watch how they've responded to their sort of changing role and their changing positions from the wedding to the birth. Some of the very sort of open comments that they've made about their mental health and about their struggles, quite unprecedented, really. And I suppose the thing that struck me was that it did appear that this announcement, albeit that some activity seems to have been going on for some time with the trademarking and the website, the announcement itself did seem to come very quickly, and I think probably rather out of character, without full discussion with the other members of the royal family. It seemed to be that they were going out on a limb a little bit. Now, sometimes when we see behaviour like that, we have to be careful not to speculate too much about what's going on in their minds, but sometimes when we see a very kind of quick decision, a sort of rash kind of perhaps not fully thought through breaking away, it does suggest that someone's coming from a very emotionally charged place, perhaps a place of kind of despair, of distress. And we see this a lot when people kind of suddenly hand their notice in at work, and sadly as well figures around people, for example, who attempt to take their own life because of occupational stress, often do so on a Monday morning, for example, when they just can't face returning back to their job or to their everyday life. So I wonder whether this coming at the end of their trip to Canada, their time away, just after they got back, was some sort of expression of we just can't cope with this anymore. That would be my sort of thinking as to what could be going on. But of course, we don't really know what's going on in their minds unless they tell us.
It's interesting, isn't it? The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, along with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, are advocates for mental health. They champion good mental health and talking about things. So yes. Is this not a hint that they're actually practising what they preach and perhaps stepping back for their own mental health? I think back to an interview that both of them gave to ITV, and the Duchess of Sussex was teary at one point and said, it's not just enough to survive, that's not the point of life, you have to thrive.
Yes, and I think, one of the things that we really do need to acknowledge, and certainly as someone who works in mental health myself, they really have done great work to raise the kind of awareness around mental health, that no matter who you are, no matter whether you come from a place of privilege or not, you're not immune to suffering difficulties with your mental health. I think one of the things that really concerns me is that, unfortunately, when you're a public figure, especially if you're a member of the royal family, but if you're in politics, if you're a celebrity, I work with people in this way. Most of my clients actually work in the public eye. And one of the things that you find is that as soon as they start talking about their struggles or their mental health, because people perceive them to have such privilege, such wealth, such opportunity, they almost sort of shut the conversation down quite disdainfully and sort of say, oh, what are they complaining about? But actually, the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are. Wealth really doesn't come into it after a certain point. We know that poverty obviously is linked to mental health, but beyond a certain amount, it does not give you any kind of buffer or immunity from struggling with your mental health. And we know a lot about Harry's life. We know that he lost his mother at a young age. Lots of things that are risk factors for people to struggle with their mental health. And then when you put that on the world stage with lots of people openly criticising them, I do think they've had a hard time.
Yeah, that's not going to go away, though, is it? That's not going to go away, is it? I mean, obviously, Harry's life has played out in the public arena, all the tragedies that have happened to him. Meghan, when she married into the royal family, her private life unravelled in the tabloids, the split with her family, the rift with her father. But that isn't going to go away. They're not stepping back and fading into obscurity to go and do, work in projects in Africa and not tell anyone about it. They want to maintain that public pressure, that public persona and that public profile.
Yes, but one of the things we know, if you think about this as a job, and if we apply some of the kind of psychological models that we use to look at occupational stress, for example, one of the things we know is that people can actually cope with quite high pressure demands upon them if they have a certain level of autonomy to be able to manage their own life, to be able to manage their own workload. And so it may be that this is a reflection of them recognising that actually they are in a unique position, they have got a platform. I think they want to make use of that platform for good work that they see as doing good work. But it may be that they really feel the need to have more control, more autonomy, more of a say in how they go about that work, and that will help to sort of mitigate the effects of some of the stress and pressure, perhaps.
OK, Honey, really interested to get your perspective. Honey Lancaster-James, psychologist, talking to us about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and that momentous decision that was announced last night. You're watching the Sarah Jane Mee Show here on Sky News. Coming up, more on that story, of course. Plus, we'll take a look at today's sports news.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. Now on the way, Tim Henman talks about Britain's agonising defeat in the quarter-finals of the ATP Cup against Australia, why one of England's World Cup winning cricketers has been fined, and we take you to Australia where there was some big hitting. But what happened next here? Catch, drop, floodlight failure? We'll tell you all in a couple of minutes' time.
All the leading actors and actresses, all the supporting actors and actresses, 20 in total, making it an all-white lineup for this year's BAFTAs, and coming